Hey guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast. I am here to do week 6 game day pick'ems. All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast. It's just going to be me tonight, but I do have the pick'ems for Taylor and for John. John is working a festival tonight, and Taylor was busy and couldn't be with us tonight. But, however, I did get their picks for the games that we're going to go through, so I'm going to give you their picks as I go. We are College Sportscast, and we are presented by the Fanboys, and that is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. This is week 6 game day pick'em. This is where we pick some of the best games of the week, and we use spreads. Most time I use spreads off of DraftKings, and I want to say that we are proud to be sponsored to Fanboys by Pepsi. So here's your cherry Pepsi, and proud to be sponsored by them. Also, True Victory. You can pick up some veteran-owned sportswear, some great stuff. Use our code TheFanboys for a 15% discount. And Amazon. Amazon Prime Days, October 10th and 11th is coming up. Check out on my Twitter account. That's my Twitter handle right there on the screen, Brad CS Cast. You can check out some links there on my Twitter account, and you can check out the deals of Prime Day, the big deals that's coming up for Prime. Amazon Prime. So, yeah. All right. Going to get started tonight here. And I will switch this over. So this is our pick'em stats. This is through week 5. Last week I was 8-4. John was 6-6, and Taylor was 7-5. For the entirety of this year for 2023, I am 1 game up on John this week. I'm 32-26, and John is 31-27. Taylor's been with us and missed a couple of weeks. He is 17-18. And that is our picks so far. Again, I do use DraftKings as the for the spreads that we use here at College Sportscast. So hop on there and have a little fun with small bets, big bets, whatever you want. But we always have a little fun. And this week, our very first game we're going to get to is a Friday game. This one is Kansas State is at Oklahoma State. And Kansas State is 11.5-point favorite. Now, these spreads I looked up this morning, I believe, early this morning. And I noticed this evening there's two or three of them that has changed a little bit today. Not much, but a little bit. So if you see a spread here that doesn't look right to you, put it in the comments. But it was right this morning when I went through and put all this stuff in. So that's what I'm going to go by. And the first game, again, here is Kansas State at Oklahoma State. Now, you know, Oklahoma State has honestly been struggling. Every time I mention Oklahoma State, I don't really understand why Spencer Sanders transferred to Ole Miss. and is sitting on the bench for the most part behind Jackson Dart. And Oklahoma State is struggling. And Kansas State, minus the Missouri loss that they had, they're having a pretty good year so far. Look like a contender at least in the Big 12, and you can't say the same about Oklahoma State. I would, the spread at 11.5. I do think I looked a little bit earlier; it had dropped to 11. So that's where we are. Taylor and John both are picking Kansas State to cover the spread in this game. And I think that's where I'm going to go and lean as well, is picking the Kansas State Wildcats. Even though this is at Oklahoma State, I believe that the best bet would be in this game to pick Kansas State to cover that spread. The next game is also in the Big 12, and this is an early game Saturday. It's one of the biggest games of the day. We have Texas versus Oklahoma. This game is the Red River rivalry. It is always played in the Cotton Bowl. It is not played at Oklahoma or Texas. And, Oklahoma probably is going to remember what happened last year. They got their hind ends kicked. If I'm not mistaken, they were blanked in the game last year, and it was a beat down. I can't remember exactly what the score was, but it was way up there. I want to say to 0. And Oklahoma struggled last year. They actually were below 500. I think they were 6-7. And, they're playing a hell of a lot better this year. Oklahoma is so far. So that's where, you look at Dylan Gabriel and what he's doing with that offense, and the defense is definitely playing 10 times better. Last year, that was their biggest struggle, was on the defense. People were just running up points on them and running up scores. And that's not exactly happening. This time, last week they gave up 20. But, they won 50-20. And, they're well on their way. Both of these teams are still undefeated. Of course, you have Texas, who is full of talent, and Stark has them, everywhere. Honestly, these guys are full of talent. Defensive line, running back, quarterbacks, not just one, wide receivers and wideouts. They have a ton of talent. The talent is there for Texas to continue a win in this series. Texas is favored 6.5 points, according to DraftKings this morning. I think this is another line that has went down a little bit throughout the day. I was looking earlier. I think it has also went down just a little bit, but I had it at 6.5 this morning, and that's what John and Taylor picked. So Taylor Bell from Hopeless Sportsmatic has been with us this year, doing our picks for our game day pick'ems, and that's who I'm talking about when I talk about Taylor. Taylor Bell is also on the Southern Gentleman's radio show out of Destin, Florida. He is also on that on Saturday mornings before these games. They have like a 4-hour show from about 8 to 12. You can check him out there. But Texas is being picked by Taylor and John to cover the 6.5 spread in this game. I honestly, guys, I kind of, there's a part of me that wants to pick Oklahoma to cover this spread at 6.5. I think this will be a much closer and more competitive game than it was last year. Last year was, like I said, an absolute blowout. But I think this Texas team is just too talented. This is a game when I look at it and I see both Taylor and John going with Texas. It's one I could get up on them. And, I'm thinking maybe, this is one that I could do that with. But, to be honest, I really feel like Texas is going to cover and win by at least a touchdown. And if they can do that, that'll cover this spread. And like I said, I think it's went down to like 5.5 or something since we done this and talked this morning. So, but our next game on Saturday is Maryland at Ohio State. And the spread this morning on this game was 19.5 in favor of Ohio State. This is also a game of undefeateds. These, into week 6, these are 2 undefeated teams. And Maryland's been playing good, looking good. Maryland has Tua tagged. Y'all know if y'all watch my show, have Tua's little brother. He's been there for a while. He's a really good quarterback as well. And they have some talent on that team and have some receivers and tight end and have an offense around him. Now, defense, they've been doing pretty good, but playing Ohio State is a step up, especially playing them at Ohio State. That's just not a place that they lose often at all. You got Ohio State to worry about here. And Ohio State has stepped it up and been playing better as of late. The first 2 games this year, they kind of struggled. But I think McCord is coming around. And they're loaded on the wide receiver room. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, in my opinion, is the best player in college football. Talent-wise, as far as having a career, I think he's going to be probably the best player. That would be my opinion. They have the running backs. Just talent everywhere. I mean, Ohio State is always talented. And my only thing is Ohio State going to cover this spread? I mean, that's basically what you are considering here. So Taylor takes Maryland and the 19.5 points, and John takes Ohio State to cover the 19.5 points in this one. And, I'm at this is one I'm kind of mixed on. I really like this Maryland team. I think that they have something for some offense. If they can put up 3 touchdowns, winning by 20, Ohio State would have to put up quite a bit to do that. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So, gosh, a 3-touchdown win. I think I'm going to go with Ohio State in this one to cover the 19.5 because that's what the spread is 19.5. But this is one that's kind of a toss-up to me. I think you could kind of go either way in this game. But I think I'm going to go Ohio State to cover. Then we're going to the SEC. One of the bigger games in the SEC this week is LSU is going to Missouri. LSU's coming off of a second loss already this season, 5 weeks in. They just got scored on at will by Ole Miss last week in Oxford. And gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter to lose 55-49. This LSU team is talented. This LSU team has lots and lots of great players on offense. Neighbors is fantastic. Their tight end Taylor is great. And then you got Jalen Daniels. Their offense is fantastic. Their defense, however, I just don't know what they've given up 155 points in 5 games. That's 36 points a game. And Missouri has one of the best playmakers in the SEC, Luther Burden. If you guys don't know him yet, you need to tune into this game on Saturday. This is an early game. And tune into this game on Saturday because Luther Burden and his QB, Brady Cook, is playing out of this world. He's gotten like nearly 350 attempts with no interceptions. He has not thrown an interception in like over 11 games. Something like that, going all the way back to last year. He's not thrown a single interception this year so far. He is within 100. He's like 96 attempts of breaking the all-time record for consecutive passes without an interception. I don't think he's going to get 100 attempts this week. He's not going to break it this week, but if he can keep the streak going, in 2 or 3 games, he could possibly break this record. And it's at home for Missouri, and LSU's kind of reeling. So, I don't know exactly what everyone else's thoughts is on this game, but I'll tell you what Taylor and John think. So Taylor and John are both taking Missouri to cover the spread. The spread's 5.5. So there's the spread for you. Taylor and John are both taking Missouri in this game at home, even though LSU is favored by 5.5. And I'm just not sure, LSU's got plenty of offense. But I'm telling you, this Missouri team has some talent. Luther Burden is a 5-star kid and is a killer playmaker. I mean, he had like 160-some yards receiving, and that's not counting all the other stuff that he does, with punt returns and kick returns and all the other stuff that he does. He's an amazing player. You need to check him out. There's a part of me, Missouri is undefeated. They are still one of the 3 teams in the SEC that's undefeated. You have Georgia, Kentucky, and Missouri. They're all SEC East teams that are undefeated this year. So, right now, gosh, I think I'm going to take Missouri as well to at least cover this spread at home. I think that's where I'm going to go with this one as well. The next game I'm going to talk about this week is Washington State at UCLA. Washington State is still undefeated. They beat Oregon State week before last. I think they had last week off as a bye. I don't think they played last week. Washington State didn't. And UCLA has already got beat by Utah. They struggled in that game. They have a freshman quarterback who's a 5-star kid, Dante Moore. He was a 5-star, but he's a true freshman coming in. This game is at UCLA. It's at Anaheim. And I don't know if you guys, another kid, I'm not sure if you're not paying attention, there is a quarterback at Washington State. His name is Cameron Ward, and you've got to check this kid out. He is throwing the ball all over the darn place, and he accumulated over 400 yards and like 5 TDs against Oregon State to beat them at home. This is an away game. This is a game that I'm going to be honest with you. Washington State sometimes trips up at UCLA. This is a game that they trip up on. I think that's why UCLA is favored. You see UCLA there as a 3.5-point favorite at home in this game. Even though Washington State is the higher ranked team, UCLA has fallen out after that loss at Utah. Washington State's ranked like 14th or 15th, something like that, this week. And quite honestly, Washington State should probably be favored in this game outside of they kind of struggle at UCLA. With that said, Taylor and John are both taking Washington State in this game, and Brad's going to as well. I think that's what I'm going to do too, is take Washington State. I really, really like this Washington State team. They play enough defense most of the time. They're not the worst in the Pac-12 by far, and they're not like, tough nose, Big Ten, SEC defenses either. But I really like this Washington State team. I'm going to keep them undefeated and say that they at least cover the 3.5 spread in this game. All right. This is one of two of three big SEC games this week. This one is Alabama is going to College Station, Texas A&M. This morning it was a 2-point spread. I noticed tonight it was down to 1.5. There's been some rumors about Jalen Milroe's hamstring. I also have heard that there's not much to it and that to expect him to play. So I don't know which is true or what is not. But this is a game, Saban's been beat by A&M. And, this is a dangerous game going into College Station. The 12th man is going to be loud and proud on Saturday in this game. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think Alabama has improved some the last couple of weeks. They did not look good getting beat at Texas, and then the following week, that South Florida game, they looked pretty bad. I mean, it was 3-3 in the fourth quarter. Scored a couple of touchdowns late when they put Ty Simpson in. But Ty Simpson's not the quarterback now. Yeah, now you got Jalen. That's the game that Jalen set out, and the other two quarterbacks played. And since then, they coming off of beating Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Ole Miss was a good win in Tuscaloosa, and then they beat Mississippi State on the road 40-17 or something like that last week. Beat them pretty good. Defense has looked a whole lot better the last couple of weeks. And, they have some stars, Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry. They have some stars on that team on the defensive side of the ball. And the offense is coming along. A&M is a team who's getting the on defense, their front seven, front four is getting a lot of tackles for loss. And that's what's making their defense a little better this year than what it was. I mean, last year they struggled mightily. And there was a sign this year, they went to Miami second or third game of the year and got got beat pretty good. Give up 48 points to Miami Hurricanes. So they do have one loss, and Alabama has one loss. However, both of these teams' losses outside of the SEC. So these are the two undefeated teams in the SEC West still. Ole Miss and LSU have one loss in the SEC West, and then Alabama and Texas A&M do not have a loss in the SEC West. So the winner of this game is going to get a huge advantage through the rest of the year in the SEC West. With that said, Taylor is taking Texas A&M, and John is taking Bama and the 2 points. Texas A&M is playing their backup quarterback. Connor Wigman is out for the season. A leg injury. I can't remember exactly what it is, but he was listed as day-to-day, and then all of a sudden they said he was out for the season. So Max Johnson is stepping in. He's played pretty good. He got come in relief and passed a couple of touchdowns and played pretty good. And then last week they come in and he wins a good game last week as well. It's another team that, since that Miami loss, has looked like a different team. And they're going to be ready and fired up in College Station. That said, I already told you what Taylor and John are doing in this game. I think I'm taking Alabama. It's really hard for me to pick against Saban in these close games. Now, I think there is a chance, Texas A&M has some killer wide receivers. Max Johnson, if he can, on the outside, take advantage of the Alabama defense a little bit, because they are great inside. But now, if they can take advantage and have a few 20, 30, 40-yard passes, a couple, 2 or 3 of them down the field, I mean, they could have some a good, showing here against Bama. But I'm going to take Saban and take Alabama in this game. I just can't do it yet. All right. The next game we're going to talk about this week is Syracuse at North Carolina. Syracuse before last week was undefeated. Clemson did beat them last week 31-14. Now, North Carolina is still undefeated. I think they had a bye week last week. The spread in this game this morning on DraftKings was 8.5. Of course, North Carolina has Drake May, but North Carolina got some really, really good news today. The NCAA reversed their ineligible decision, and that decision was twice. All right. They reversed it today, and Tez Walker, transfer wide receiver, is going to be able to play the rest of the season. He should have been eligible to play anyways, to be quite honest with you. There's a bunch of other kids that's played at 2, 3, 4 schools, and there's no reason to keep Tez Walker out. It's just singling him out, and there was no reason for it whatsoever. So I'm glad to see the NCAA is stepping up to do that. For that reason alone, I'm going to pick North Carolina in this game at home. I think Tez Walker is going to want to show out. He is, got a lot of talent. It happened this morning, early this morning. Mac Brown went in. There was a video of it, when he told him, and they he was shocked, and they just hugged it out. And it was a really cool video to see, really. And I was glad to see that he's going to be able to get to play. I think he deserves it, along with the 100 other kids that have, 200 other kids that transferred and been to 2, 3, 4 schools as well. So, or 3 or 4 schools, not 2, but 3 or 4 schools. So it was good to see. Anyway, Taylor and John are both picking UNC. I think I'm going to pick UNC as well. And I'm going to be honest. I think we're not doing too much different here. So this week it doesn't seem like. But my next game is Vanderbilt at Florida. Florida last week, Kentucky put them on their heels the entire game, pretty much dominated them. It was a great game. I loved it. And, Vandy, while some people want to say they look improved, they do have some talent. AJ Swan is a pretty decent quarterback, and they have about 3 wide receivers. Shepard, McGowan, or something like that's the kid's name. They have some talent wide receivers, but they're going to the Swamp. And Florida's coming off of an ass whooping by Kentucky. And I just have a feeling on my end, I think Billy Napier's going to have these kids wanting to show out this week. They're not going to get too many easier games in the SEC than what they have this week coming in here at Vanderbilt. I will say this. Taylor and John are picking Vandy to cover the 18.5. This is one I think I'm going to do different, guys. I think Pearsall and the 2 great running backs that they have and that offensive defensive line who got manhandled last week is going to want to step up, show that they can do what, can play some Florida ball. And I just have a feeling that Florida's going to cover. I'm picking Florida to cover, even though Taylor and John has picked Vandy. So this is one that we are going to do different. 18.5 though. So we'll see. They have to cover 18.5 on Vandy. I am a little nervous about it, but just coming off of the beatdown from Kentucky, I just have a feeling in the Swamp, because that's where Florida has been winning all their games. Florida is 2-15 away from the Swamp in their last 17 games. Just to give y'all a little tip there. The next one that I'm going to do is Kentucky and Georgia. All right, so this is 2 undefeated teams. Kentucky slipped in this week after the Florida beatdown, ranked 20th. Georgia, of course, is number 1, 2-time defending champs. This is in Athens, between the hedges, and Georgia is now a 14.5-point favorite in this game. I will say, when this opened on Saturday evening, it opened at 23.5. It went to 21. I saw it go to about 19. It went to like 17. And it is now sitting at 14.5. And it's been at 14.5 for a couple of days, day and a half or so. Travis, what's up, my dude? He's a dog fan. This is Travis Jennings from the Bar Banter podcast. If you guys know the Bar Banter podcast, this is Travis. He's one of our friends here at College SportsCast, and he happens to be one of those dog fans. But anyways, I won't hold that against him. All right, so Kentucky and Georgia. I wrote an article that come out today on Stadium Rant about 3 keys for Kentucky in this game. I am a Kentucky fan. Travis knows that. Everybody knows that watches the show. Tough game to go into Athens and win against the 2-time defending champs. Thank you, Travis, man. I appreciate it. And he's laughing at me. So we're just having a little fun here. You know, it's an absolute going to be a tough place to go in and get a win. And that's, I mean, for any team in any, any team across the country, and it doesn't matter who it would be, you would still say the same thing. I think this Kentucky team is a team that could be built to give them some trouble. Auburn last week ran 219 yards on Georgia. First time they've given up that many yards since 2016, just so you guys know. And, they are now 38th, I think, in rushing defense for the year, 5 games in, 5 weeks in. They are now 38th in the country in rushing defense. And Kentucky is first in rushing efficiency offense. Number 1. That's a recipe to exploit and to see if Kentucky can make a little noise in Athens. I don't think Kentucky's going to go in there. I know we got Devin Leary, and I know there's some talented wide receivers in there. And I know that we do have to pass the ball. I'm not going to say that we don't have to. We do have to get 200 yards of offense, in the air as well. But I think Kentucky cannot count on going down there because Georgia's pass defense is like top 5 in the country. Exactly where you would think Georgia would be. They're like 2nd or 3rd, something like that in the country on pass defense. It's the rush defense. They're just not quite up to par what they've been the past 2+ years. I mean, the 2 title years plus probably more. But there is an avenue, I think, with that. Georgia has started the game slow this year. They were down 14-3 to South Carolina on September the 16th. They were down last week 10-0 against Auburn in the first quarter. Now, halftime comes. They come out the second half and they play a different game. They kind of get in a rhythm. And Brock Bowers has been nothing but, he just runs over guys. He just bounces off people and runs over dudes. And you're going to have to contain him. You can't let him have 165 yards and 2 TDs. You're not going to stop him. But, if you can contain him to 5 or 6 receptions and, 65 to 80 yards and maybe 1 TD, if you can limit him, then maybe, and do the running that I was talking about, maybe there's a chance that Kentucky could pull the monumental upset of the century. I don't know, maybe. But with that said, and Taylor here is a diehard Georgia fan. I just want you guys to know that. And when he sent me this list, I was like, did he mean to pick Kentucky in this game? I was just, I don't know. I'm going to have a talk with him. He was busy. I didn't get to have a talk with him. So I don't know if he meant to put UK, okay? Now I will say this. He went to school at Georgia. His mom is a graduate of Kentucky. So he grew up liking Kentucky, but he is a diehard Georgia fan. and went to school at Georgia. And I know for a fact that he is picking Georgia to win this game. It's a 14.5-point spread. Georgia, I don't think, has covered a single spread all year long, to be quite honest with you. And Kentucky is 4-1 against the spread so far this season. So both of these guys, Taylor and John, that's what they're doing. I don't think either one of them are picking UK to win this game. I think they're picking them against the 14.5-point spread, which is what I'm going to do as well. I'm not picking Kentucky to win this game. I'm just not there yet with even my team, okay? But Brad White does an absolute excellent job. This Kentucky defense is mean and nasty. Georgia's offense has not been on all cylinders compared to what they have been the last couple of years when they were winning titles. I think that Kentucky can keep this game within a couple of touchdowns. I really do. So that's where I'm going to leave that. Our next game that I'm going to talk about is Notre Dame is at Louisville this weekend, and Notre Dame is a 6-point favorite. Notre Dame went to Duke last week and was a 5.5-point favorite and beat them 21-14. I think Duke is a better football team than Louisville. Louisville is 5-0. They snuck into the top 25 this week at number 25. Their schedule's really, really weak, y'all. Really weak. And this is the first game they're playing of any stature whatsoever. I like Braum as a coach. I think Braum's going to turn them around. I think Braum's going to do a good job. Matter of fact, when I looked at Louisville's schedule this year, I told everybody that Louisville will go 8-4 or 9-3. That's how weak their schedule is. And I don't think they're a spectacular team. But with Braum as their coach and the kind of offense that they can put out, I think that, they have that kind of schedule to be able to go 8-4, 9-3, somewhere in that range. Now, I will say this. This is one of the games that I thought Louisville would lose when you look at their schedule. Taylor and John are both picking Notre Dame in this game, and I am as well. I think the 6-point spread is a no-brainer. With Hartman and with their running back, starts with an E. Can't think of his name right now. They have some tools. The Great House, the wide receivers coming back, and they have some tools. And I just don't see Louisville being able to hang with them and beat them. I mean, I think it'll be a 2-touchdown game or something would be my guess. So I'm taking Notre Dame in this game as well. All right. This is the last game of the week. This is number 12. Went through. This is Arkansas as at Ole Miss. Saturday night. Ole Miss is an 11.5-point favorite at home in Oxford. And Arkansas is reeling a little bit. They've lost 3 in a row. They challenged LSU. Looked like it was a great game to watch, but looked like, hey, they're doing something. They're challenging LSU. Well, then LSU goes and lays an egg at Ole Miss and can't play any defense. And now they're going to Missouri. So, if they were to lose at Missouri, I'm not so sure that the near win in Death Valley is a monster achievement or something. So I'm just not sure. They don't look, I don't know how to put my finger on it with Arkansas yet. I like Pittman. He seems like he recruits well. He's had some changeover as far as his offensive and defensive coordinators, and I think that's kind of messed with him with this team last year as well. And it's a shame because he's had KJ Jefferson and some talented wide receivers. He's got a good wide receiver room. They just seem like on defense they can't get out of the way. Like they are really struggling against the pass. And they struggled with that last year. And they are also doing that this year. Ole Miss and Jackson Dart, that's what they do. I mean, they also have Judkins as well. And he's probably going to run like crazy on them too. But on the outside, they're going to hit some stuff on them. I'm going Ole Miss in this game. I don't trust Arkansas to play any defense at all. And Ole Miss just rung up 55 points on LSU. If you're not playing much defense, I just don't see how you're going to hang in this game. Taylor's taking Mississippi. John took Arkansas. Arkansas is going to put up some points. I just don't think it's going to be enough. Like, I really think that Ole Miss wins this game by 20. It's going to be like, 18 or something. It's going to be like 35-17, or it's going to be no, that's not even right. It's probably going to be like 45-27, something like that. That sounds about right. It's probably going to be something like that. That's where I'm going to go, is take Ole Miss in this game. And that is our 12 games for our game day pick'em. Up next, let's talk about our upset picks. I want to be honest with you, we haven't been doing too hot. I have missed two like really, really close last seconds of the game that I thought I had. We have not won any of our upset picks as of yet. So for our upset pick of the week, Taylor is picking Missouri over LSU. We've already talked about that game. I told you he was taking Missouri in the points. He's actually picking Missouri to upset LSU in Columbia, at Missouri, at home, and he's picking the upset. John is taking Marshall over North Carolina State. North Carolina State is switching quarterbacks. Could be a good thing for them. They need to find some offense. But John's picking Marshall over NC State as his upset pick of the week. I'm going to take Washington State. I've already talked about them. I told you that I was taking Washington State over UCLA. I mean, to cover the points, the point spread was 3.5. I'm going to take that a little further. I'm going to take Washington State to upset UCLA. That's going to be my upset pick of the week. And we'll see if I do any good with that one. All right. Lock of the week. I do have 2 wins on my lock of the week. Right now I'm setting 2 and 3. John still has not won a lock, and Taylor is 1-1. He hasn't been with us and done the lock as many times as me and John have each week. But I am right now in the lead, 2 and 3. Hopefully I can get another win here this week on my lock of the week and climb a little further above, hopefully. But Anyway, so on the locks, Taylor is taking Notre Dame over Louisville as a 6-point favorite as his lock of the week. And John Hammonds is taking Florida State over Virginia Tech as a 24-point favorite. 24 points he's taken. Virginia Tech is not that great of a team. It is a team that they should handle pretty well. I think I'm going to – we haven't done this before. We've always taken different ones. But I actually think I'm going to line up with Taylor on this one, and we'll see if that works in my favor or not this week. I think I'm going to take Notre Dame over Louisville in that 6 points as my lock bet of the week, lock of the week. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys being with me. I'll always say us because there's usually more of us on the show. But this week, I'm not sure about Sunday either because John Roberts usually is with me on Sundays for the weekend wrap-up show. But I will be here on Sunday. This past Sunday was my birthday, and we ran the show a little bit late. But this Sunday, be back at the regular time, 3 o'clock. College SportsCast weekend wrap-up show. It's where we talk about everything that happened over the weekend and all the big games and all the big wins and upsets and everything else that happens over the weekend. We also run down and talk about the AP poll. On Sunday afternoon about 1:30 Central Time, the AP poll comes out and we come on at 3 o'clock, and we always run through the new AP poll for the week. We also do a complete rundown, a full rundown and scoreboard for college football, not just the top 25 or the top teams. We do a complete rundown scoreboard for college football on the weekend wrap-up show. We talk about the big games and the big wins and who did this and who did that, who looked great. All of that kind of stuff. And then we wrap up our show, our weekend wrap-up show. We do a little bit of a look ahead at the big games for the next week. So I hope you guys will join me for the weekend wrap-up show on Sunday. And as I close this out, just want to say thank you for tuning in to College SportsCast. We are presented by the Fanboys. We are featured on Let's Talk Sports, Sideline Sports, One, the Real Fresh channel, Stadium Rant, all on YouTube channels. Check those out. And then we are also on WSBN TV channel 30. You can find us in the comfort of your own home or mobile. You can find us anywhere on Roku, Apple, or Fire TV. All you have to do is download the BoxCast app. Once you download the BoxCast app, look for World Sports Broadcast Network. And once you find them, then you can find College SportsCast on their channel 30. And you can get us again on Apple TV, Roku, or Fire TV from anywhere. So it's pretty cool to be a part of WSBN TV, and we want to appreciate that as well. So, all right, guys, we will see you on Sunday, and I appreciate you guys being with me for Game Day Pick'em.